Hello, and welcome to Cloud-9 Stories. I am so glad you are here tonight. Whatever this day was, long or short, easy or hard, full or empty, it is finished now. You do not need to carry it any further. This moment belongs entirely to you. Let your body go soft and heavy. Let your shoulders fall away from your ears. Let your hands open and rest. Let your jaw go loose. Let the space behind your eyes go still. Take one long, slow breath in through your nose and let it all the way out. Good. One more time. All the way in and all the way out. Feel how your body grows heavier with each breath out. That is exactly where you need to be right now. Tonight, I am going to tell you a story from ancient Greece. A story about a god that the ancient Greeks believed visited every single person in the world every single night, moving silently through the dark, touching sleeping eyes with gentle hands, drawing the world into rest. His name was Hypnos, spelled Hypnos. The word hypnosis, which means a deep sleep-like state, comes directly from his name. Every time someone says the word hypnosis, they are, without knowing it, speaking the name of a god who was worshipped in ancient Greece over 2,000 years ago. Hypnos was the god of sleep, not a minor god, not a small power in the corner of the Greek world, but one of the most important forces in all of creation. The ancient Greeks believed that every human being gave half their life to Hypnos. Half of every single day, every single night belonged to him. And they were not wrong. A person who lives to be 80 years old will spend roughly 26 of those years asleep. 26 years in the kingdom of Hypnos. 26 years under his gentle care. This is his story. Close your eyes, let the music settle around you. Here is the story. Before there was a world, there was darkness. Not the darkness of a room with the lights off, not the darkness of a cloudy night, but the original darkness, the darkness that existed before anything else existed, before the first light was struck, before the first star was placed in the sky. A darkness so complete and so total that it was not the absence of something, but a presence in itself. The ancient Greeks called this darkness Erebus, spelled E-R-E-B-U-S. Erebus was not just dark, he was darkness, the living, breathing, ancient force of it, the darkness from which all other things would eventually come. And out of the darkness came night. Her name was Nyx, spelled N-Y-X. She was the goddess of the night, one of the very first beings to exist in the world, so old and so powerful that even Zeus, the king of all the gods, was afraid of her. The ancient poet Hesiod, who wrote one of the oldest and most important books about the Greek gods, called the Theogony, which simply means the birth of the gods, described Nyx as a dreadful and powerful goddess. Not dreadful in a cruel way, dreadful in the way that very ancient and very vast things are dreadful, the way an open sea is dreadful, or the way a sky full of stars can make you feel very small and very still. Nyx moved through the world wrapped in dark robes, driving a chariot pulled by dark horses across the sky each evening, bringing the night behind her like a great soft curtain drawn across the world. And she had many children. Most of her children were born without a father, simply created from the darkness and the night itself. And most of them were the things that live in the dark hours, the things that come when the sun goes down and leave when the sun comes back. Among all her children, Two were the most famous, the most talked about, the most painted on and carved about in all ancient Greek art and poetry. They were twins. Their names were Hypnos and Thanatos. Hypnos, sleep. Thanatos, death. The two most powerful forces of the night. Born together, always together, completely different from each other, and yet so deeply connected that the ancient Greeks painted them side by side on their pottery, carved them together in their temples, and spoke their names together the way you speak the names of things that cannot be separated. Sleep and death, death and sleep. The ancient Greeks understood that these two things are neighbors. They are not the same. Hypnos and Thanatos are very different from each other, and the Greeks were clear about that. But they live in the same place, come from the same mother, move through the same dark hours. Sleep is the small, quiet practice of letting go that the body does every night. Death is the final letting go, the one that does not return. Every night when you sleep, you visit the kingdom of Hypnos. He has been waiting for you. Before we go any further into the world of Hypnos, I want to stop here for just a moment. If this story is doing what it is meant to do tonight, if your body is getting heavy and your breathing is getting slow, and the world is beginning to feel very far away, please take 2 seconds before you drift all the way under and hit the subscribe button. My wife told me with full confidence and a very certain expression that this channel would never reach 5,000 subscribers. She said I was wasting my time. She has been watching the numbers very carefully, and she has a look on her face that I would very much like to change. If Cloud-9 Stories is giving you a gentle, peaceful place to land at the end of your day, please subscribe. Leave a like. It costs you nothing, and it means everything. And it would make my wife considerably less sure of herself. Now, back to Hypnos, because his cave is waiting, and the river Lethe is flowing, and the poppies are blooming at the entrance, and it is time to go inside. Hypnos lived in a cave, not just any cave, the most extraordinary cave in all of creation, described by the ancient Roman poet Ovid in his great work, The Metamorphoses, which means the transformations, as one of the most beautiful and strange places that ever existed. The cave was deep in the underworld, the realm beneath the earth where the dead went after their lives were over. Not a frightening place in this part of the myth, a quiet place, a still place, a place where the light of the sun never reached and the light of the moon never reached either, a place of complete and perfect darkness, but not emptiness.
At the entrance to Hypnos' cave, poppies grew, thousands of them. Poppies in ancient Greece were the symbol of sleep. Their seeds, when prepared in certain ways, could bring on a deep and heavy drowsiness. The ancient Greeks associated the poppy with Hypnos so strongly that artists always painted him holding a poppy in one hand or wearing a crown of poppies on his head. The poppies at the entrance to his cave grew so thickly and so tall that they filled the air around the entrance with their heavy, sweet scent. And anything that came close to the cave began to feel the first gentle pull of sleep just from breathing that air. The cave had no doors, no gates, no creaking hinges or locks, or anything that could make a sound. This was done on purpose. Hypnos did not want noise. Noise was the enemy of sleep. His cave was the most silent place in all of creation. So silent that even the wind did not enter. Even the sound of water moving was only the softest possible murmur. Because through the cave flowed a river, the river Lethe, spelled Lethe. In Greek mythology, there were 5 rivers in the underworld, and each one had a power. The river Styx was the river of hate. The river Phlegethon was the river of fire. The river Acheron was the river of woe.
The river Cocytus was the river of lamentation, which means crying and mourning. But the river Lethe was the river of forgetting. Lethe means forgetfulness in Greek. When the souls of the dead came to the underworld, they were given water from the river Lethe to drink before they could be reborn into a new life. The water of Lethe took away all their memories, everything they had been and done, and loved and learned in their previous life was washed away, gently and completely, so that they could begin again fresh. And this river flowed through the cave of Hypnos. The sound of it, that soft, continuous murmur of water moving over smooth stone, was the sound that filled the cave of sleep, the sound that Hypnos heard every moment of his existence, the sound that makes the cave the most restful place in all of creation, because it is the sound of forgetting, of letting the world and all its worries and memories and weights dissolve gently into the water and float away. In the center of the cave was the bed of Hypnos. It was made of ebony, a very dark and very beautiful wood, black as the night itself. The sheets were gray and soft, and Hypnos lay there on his ebony bed, surrounded by his children, the Oneiroi, which is the Greek word for the dreams. They lay around him like a family, like a cloud of wings and darkness and possibility, waiting for the night to come so they could rise and go out into the world and visit the sleeping minds of every person on the earth. Hypnos had many sons. The ancient writers disagreed on exactly how many. Some said 3, some said hundreds, some said 1,000. But the 3 most important ones had names that every Greek knew. The first was Morpheus, spelled M-O-R-P-H-E-U-S. His name comes from the Greek word for shape or form, and this was his gift. He could take any human form in a dream. He could appear to a sleeping person as their mother, their husband, their best friend, their king. He could speak with their voice, walk with their walk, look at the dreamer with their exact eyes. Morpheus was the master of human dreams. He was the one who brought messages from the gods to sleeping humans, appearing in the exact form of someone the dreamer would trust so that the message would be heard and believed. Morpheus was the most famous of all the dream gods. His name is where we get the English word morphine, the strong medicine that brings deep, heavy sleep and takes away pain, and also the word metamorphosis, which means a complete change of form. The second son was Phobetor, spelled P-H-O-B-E-T-O-R. His name comes from the Greek word for fear. Phobetor was the god of nightmares. He appeared in dreams in the form of animals, not gentle animals, but creatures that make the heart beat fast. Wolves and serpents and dark, shapeless things that chased the dreamer through landscapes that shifted and changed. Phobetor was not a cruel god. The ancient Greeks understood that nightmares have a purpose. They are the mind processing the fears it cannot look at during the day. Phobetor brought those fears into dream form so that the sleeping mind could face them, run from them, fight them, and wake up in the morning having done some of that work. The third son was Phantasus, spelled P-H-A-N-T-A-S-U-S. His name gives us the English words fantasy and phantom. Phantasus was the god of the strange dreams, the ones that make no sense, that are full of impossible things, landscapes that have never existed, objects that speak, colors that have no names. He was the god of pure imagination in sleep, the dreams that are not about memory or fear, but about something the mind creates entirely by itself in the deep, dark hours. Every night when Hypnos began his work and the world fell into sleep, these 3 sons went out from the cave, through the 2 gates that stood at the entrance to the land of dreams. One gate was made of horn. The dreams that came through the horn gate were true dreams, real visions, genuine messages, things that would actually happen. The other gate was made of ivory. The dreams that came through the ivory gate were false dreams, beautiful and strange and full of wonder, but not real, not prophetic, just the free-flowing play of a sleeping mind. Which gate your dream came through, the ancient Greeks believed, depended on what Hypnos and his sons decided you needed that night. Hypnos was gentle. He was quiet. He was the most peaceful of all the gods, moving through the world on soft wings, touching closed eyes with gentle hands, never asking for anything in return for what he gave. But he was also one of the most powerful beings in all of creation, because there is nothing, not strength, not cleverness, not even divine power, that can resist sleep forever. This is the story that proves it. During the Great Trojan War, the war that the ancient Greek poet Homer wrote about in his famous poem, the Iliad, which is one of the oldest and most important stories ever written, the goddess Hera needed help. Hera was the wife of Zeus, the king of all the gods, and she was very angry with him. Zeus had a son named Heracles, the great hero known today by his Latin name, Hercules. Heracles had sacked the city of Troy, and Hera was furious about it. She wanted to punish Heracles while he was sailing home. But to do that, she needed Zeus to be out of the way. She needed Zeus to be asleep. She went to Hypnos. She asked him to put the king of the gods to sleep.
Hypnos was afraid. He remembered very clearly what had happened the last time he had helped Hera with exactly this kind of request. He had put Zeus to sleep, Hera had done what she wanted to do, and when Zeus woke up, he had been so furious that he had hunted through all of Olympus looking for Hypnos. The only thing that had saved the sleep god was running to his mother Nyx, because even Zeus, the most powerful being in creation, was afraid of the goddess of night. He would not follow Hypnos into her domain. So Hypnos said no. Hera offered him gifts, a beautiful golden seat that could never fall apart, with a footstool to go with it. Hypnos said no. Then Hera offered him something he had wanted for a very long time. She offered him Pasithea. Pasithea was one of the Charites, the goddesses of grace and beauty, and Hypnos had loved her for as long as he could remember. She was the goddess of meditation and relaxation, spelled Pasithea, the perfect wife for the god of sleep. What could be more natural than sleep and relaxation joined together? Hypnos asked Hera to swear by the river Styx, a most sacred oath in all of Greek mythology, an oath that even the gods could not break without terrible consequences, that she would truly give him Pasithea as his wife. Hera swore. Hypnos agreed to help. He disguised himself as a bird, a small, ordinary bird that no one would look at twice, and he flew to the peak of Mount Ida, where Zeus was watching the Trojan War from above. He perched on a tall pine tree close to Zeus and Hera, hidden in the mist and the leaves, invisible and silent. He waited until Hera had done her work, distracted Zeus, drawn his attention, made him relax, and then, very gently and very quietly, Hypnos began to work. He sprinkled sleep over the eyes of Zeus. The king of the gods, the most powerful being in all of creation, the ruler of Olympus, the lord of thunder and lightning, closed his eyes. His head grew heavy, his body settled, and he slept. Even Zeus could not resist Hypnos. Sleep is the one thing in the world that does not care how powerful you are. It comes for kings and beggars, for gods and mortals, for the strong and the weak alike. It is the great leveler, the one experience that every single living thing shares equally. Every night,
Whatever happened during the day, whatever power or wealth or strength a person has, they come to Hypnos. They close their eyes, and for those dark, quiet hours, they are just a sleeping person, like everyone else. After the war was over and the stories were told and the years passed, Hypnos returned to his cave. He married Pasithea, as Hera had promised, and together, night after night, they did the work they had always done. Every evening, as the sun went down and Nyx drew her dark robe across the sky, Hypnos rose from his ebony bed. He spread his great wings, sometimes painted gold, sometimes dark as night, sometimes showing a single star on each wing, like eyes in the darkness, and he flew out of his cave and up into the world. He carried two things with him always. In one hand, a branch from the river Lethe, so that sleep would bring forgetting, would wash away the day's worries and cares, the way the river washed away the memories of the dead. In the other hand, a horn filled with sleep-bringing liquid. Some ancient writers say it was the juice of the poppy. Some say it was water from his cave. Some say it was something with no name, something only Hypnos could make. He flew over the world, over the cities and the villages and the farms and the ships on the sea, over the palaces of kings and the small houses of ordinary people, over the rich and the poor, the young and the old, the strong and the weak, and one by one he touched their eyes, gently, barely a touch, just the lightest brush of a god's hand across a pair of tired eyes, and one by one, across the whole world, the lights went out, and the people lay down, and the breathing slowed, and the world grew quiet. The ancient Greeks had a prayer they said at night before they slept. It was addressed to Hypnos directly. One version of it, preserved by the Roman writer Valerius Flaccus, calls him the vanquisher of woes, the rest of the soul, the better part of human life, day's respite and night's comrade, peace after wandering, haven of life, the better part of human life. That is how the ancient Greeks thought of sleep, not as a loss of time, not as something to be rushed through or minimized or apologized for, but as the better part, the part that heals, the part that restores, the part that makes the other part, the waking part, the working part, the living part, possible. Modern science has spent decades confirming what Hypnos always knew. While you sleep, your brain clears waste products that build up during the day, a process that only happens during sleep through a system called the glymphatic system that acts like a cleaning service for the brain. Your body releases growth hormone during deep sleep, the hormone that repairs muscles and tissues and helps children grow. Your immune system strengthens during sleep, producing proteins called cytokines that fight infection and inflammation. Your memory consolidates. The events and information of the day are moved from short-term storage to long-term storage, organized and filed and made permanent. You are not just resting when you sleep. You are being repaired, rebuilt, renewed. Hypnos knew this 2,000 years before the scientists did.
Tonight, somewhere in the ancient darkness of his cave, Hypnos is lying on his ebony bed. The river Lethe murmurs around him. The poppies bloom at the entrance. His sons, Morpheus and Phobator and Phantasus, are gathering themselves, stretching their dream wings, preparing to go out into the world and visit every sleeping mind. And Hypnos himself is rising. He is spreading his great wings. He is flying up from the underworld into the dark sky above the world. He is coming for you now. You do not need to do anything to receive what he brings. You only need to do what you are already doing. Lie still. Breathe slowly. Let your eyes stay closed, and let the god of sleep do what he has always done. Touch your eyes with the gentlest possible hand and draw you down into the quiet, healing, necessary dark. The cave is ready. The river is flowing.
The dreams are waiting behind the gate of horn, and Hypnos, patient, gentle, ancient, faithful, is almost here. And that is the story of Hypnos, the god of sleep. A myth from ancient Greece, more than 2,000 years old, told by people who understood that sleep was not something to be taken for granted, that the dark, quiet hours of the night were a gift, that the God who brought rest to gods and kings and ordinary people alike deserved to be thanked. Let the story go now. Let it drift upward and dissolve into the dark above you. Let your breathing slow all the way down. Let your body be completely still and warm and heavy. Hypnos is here now. You are in his kingdom. The river Lethe is flowing, and the poppies are in bloom. Sleep now. Sweet dreams. Thank you so much for spending this time with Cloud-9 Stories tonight. If this story helped you relax and drift toward sleep, please leave a like on this video before you go. It helps more people find us when they need a quiet and peaceful place to rest. Subscribe if you have not already. We post new sleep stories every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday, and there will always be something warm and gentle waiting here for you. Good night, sleep well. We will see you next time.